Welcome back, and today we are going to be doing a full-on massive reinstallation of everything as in from Windows 10 to the VPX to the latest 10.8 and all the other clickety clacks that would go all with it. And you also noticed that during the video I made an error, so I'll be showing you there'll be softwares that is available that is part of the Wall installer that we can go in and use to troubleshoot and to sort those monitor displacement problems. Let's get on with it. Everything will be installed according to my rig. I have an Asus Intel 2.5 GHz 2-quad CPU that has 8 gigs of RAM with Windows 10, NVIDIA GeForce GTX 970, and a Creative Sound Blaster X5 Extreme Game Sound Card 7.1 channel. Internals PCI. I have installed this Windows 10 22H2 English International for a 64-bit, and once I've installed that, my graphics card uses this driver, the 552.22. I mean, there is definitely a lot more later additions that is a lot more update, but this one actually works with the graphic card and actually works with the VPX 10.8. The higher version seems to just not even want to install, or if it does, it seems to just crash the table and doesn't want to play. So install this for my driver. This is the website that I got my driver for my NVIDIA graphics card. And this is the driver for my graphics card. So this is where I got my Sound Blaster driver specifically for that card. Now we're going to make sure that our screen is set up correctly of the positioning. So we have our, and the back glass is on the right hand side, table on the left. Yeah, and then we make sure also we have to have that #1 table is the main display. Yeah. So that we can be able to play the pinball tables and everything correctly in the right position. We can also make sure that our monitor, we have to make sure that these guys are at 60 Hertz. So I'm not choosing the native, I'm just choosing whichever one that has a 60 Hertz refresh rate. So pick any one of these that you think that has 60 Hertz and choose that, and then you should be fine. I also chose the NVIDIA color settings for both of them. And I'm going to then use the latest Pinup Popper Bowler installer and install that. So I'm going to take this and copy it onto my desktop. It's always best to do things on your actual computer itself and not install it through the network. Right, once that is done, and then go through the whole procedure. Right, so say, yep, to the C. Pops this guy up. Let's install him. Finish. Yes, run this config business. Oh. Let's pull it back to here. Okay, so what do we have? We are going to be installing the Virtual Pinball X 10.8 and 10.7, both 32 bits and 64 bits. Okay, so the pop-up front end player with DMD Extend Freezy, Flex B2S Pop, and Future Pinball with the BAM
So everything is the latest versions. So let's go and say next. Choose our two screens, HD, apply, double check that we've got our screens have set up correctly. So the playing field is on the far left. The numbers, don't worry. If your screen on the far left playing field is 1, then let it be. And then 2, 3, continue on. Alright, so test the displays. Everything's correct. So that's on 2. Yep. It opens and closes software. Proceed to step 3. Do better see. Right, so what happens here is that I get to choose a topper. I don't have a topper. I have a DMD. So this needs to be back glass here. So let's center it. What ratio? 16. Let's do that. So put it down here, center. Okay, and then my back glass that goes to the back glass. 4. Okay, and then we have the playing field. Pull that here. Full screen. Control tab. There we go. Control tab brings us back. Music 8. I don't have any of these other ones, so then that is fine. Save and exit. Oh, exit. And then we can go to the last procedure, which we test our DMD. And this should work. If it doesn't work, that means there's something wrong, which my video earlier, yeah. So there we are. It pops up nicely, and we can place it here maybe. And I'll right click on that and save it globally. And I guess also I can save it here. I can do the show the back glass. Back glass DMD doesn't have to fit exactly in there. I'll show the DMD, this doesn't matter. Next. And next. Close. Let's open up BPX by opening up a table. Just double click on one of these. So in my preference in the video graphics, I always thought this was supposed to be set to 1, but I need to set it to 2. And then we save and close. And then one last thing. We go to the res screen and I have to make sure that this particular number is 1 for my 2 monitor display. Once that's all done, and have the back glass and everything set up properly. Now the back glass is on top, so we need to go and change that. Right click onto the back glass, and then we get to go and change this to the back. Need to go that to the back. And then we save the settings. Close. Quit the game and start it again. Now that should work. Hide that. There we go. Right. That's good. Now that we have installed the Boulder installer and we have configured our monitor, we're going to open this Pinup folder, which is on your desktop. And then I'm going to open the Virtual Pinball X. And then we're going to have a look at the configuration key, nudge, and DOF. You'll see that at the moment all these are populated at the moment, but I got all my information for where all the buttons are using this anti-micro. Once I do this, you can see that there's all these things that when I press my cabinet keys, you can see them lighting up. Down there. Let's expand this. See all of them. There we go. There we go. So you can see all the buttons I press. So you populate them as you see. I've got my left, right flippers. I've got my magnet flippers. I've got my start. I've got my exit the game. I've got my plunger, which is the push button plunger, and then I have, where's my other items? My door, I've got a door. I also have surround sound, so these are what you need to tick to enable them, and it is very highly recommended. So you should go and check out this video about surround sound, and maybe you can install your own. Now we should be able to play a game now, so I'll load up this table which I had previously placed into my table folder, where I can load up, and also have the BTOS that goes with it. Let's go to the full screen. Okay. Load the table on the full screen. Back glass pops up nicely. The DMD shows up on top of the back glass, and we have the table loaded. Let's see, can we use my buttons to add some coins? Yeah, looks like it's going. I can start the game. Yeah, can start the game. There's no sound at the moment because I've turned that off at the moment. Let's quit that. So I believe all the other buttons should be all correctly put in. Now that we're done with that, we can go to our Pinup Popper. We'll go to our front end. Let's see, does everything come up properly? So let's just go back for a second. Over there. There we go. Okay. So I can scroll quite nicely. Add. Just add it. So I did add a whole bunch of tables myself. So you can see that there's no artwork at the moment.
Meanwhile.
So I've come across this multiple times where I install everything and I think I got it right, but I seem to have just missed a step, and then suddenly things not quite right. You got the front end working quite well, and it seems like you got your pinball working quite well, but then the screens are all messed up all over the place. So you get one right, but you can't get the other right. You get the other right, and you can't seem to get, anyway. So what I found is that we can go into this B2S identifier. So when I click on this guy, it shows or displays. And if they're not in the right places, we can click and drag them and move them to their appropriate places. Like this guy.
this guy. Okay, so once you've done, you can then go and close the windows, and it'll ask us to save the changes. I don't want to save my changes, but you should save the changes. And then if you'd rather try also, we can go into the Pinup Popper installer. We can launch that app again,
and we can start the whole process all over again. And that's it for the 10.8 update and for installing the whole setup, plus a bit of tip for you to when things don't go right. So I hope that was very useful for everyone. And as usual, thanks for watching.